Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Information reaching us is that the president has finally reduced the ministry from 30 to 23 as he promised earlier. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to how he did it and how it was done. But before we go, this station still remains PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for more updates, like and also share to other members to watch as well. You can equally leave a comment at the comment section after watching or send us a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Well, we just got information that appears some persons within the presidency are watching us right now, and that earlier conversation on the number of ministers, there's some breaking news coming through from the presidency right now. And the executive instrument is going to be on your screen. EI1 is Civil Service Ministries Instrument 2025 in exercise of the power conferred on the president under Section 11.3 of the Civil Service Act 1993, PNDC Law 327. This instrument is made this 9th day of January 2025. Ministries of the Civil Service. The following ministries in the Civil Service are hereby established. So, these are the ministries that His Excellency John Mahama is going to work with. 1. The Ministry of Finance. 2. Ministry of Health. 3. Ministry of Interior. 4. Ministry of Defense. 5. Ministry of Education. 6. Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So that's an addition, Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So take note of that difference right now. Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. 7, Ministry of Roads and Highways. 8, Ministry of Transport. We also have Ministry of Sports and Recreation. So that's another one you take note of. It's changed from Youth and Sports to Ministry of Sports and Recreation. Then we have the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. And so that advocacy for it to be decoupled is not happening now. So the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has been maintained. Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources maintained. Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. So the Chieftaincy Ministry has now been also added to the Ministry of Local Government. So there's Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. There's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's no more regional integration added as we see it. Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation. So that's the difference we see there from the previous administration, Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. So this is Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation. Also, there's Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. That has been maintained as it was. Then there's Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. That's a new one. Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. And there is the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. So now the Ministry of Works and Housing now added to the water resources. So Sanitation Ministry essentially has been collapsed. And now we have Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. Then the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has been maintained as it was. And also the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts. Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts maintained. And the Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. It's the next one. And also Ministry of Food and Agriculture maintained. And, well, there is a Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture that has been maintained. So the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, based on this list, has been maintained. That's how I come to former ministry. You were saying that they should collapse it. Well, there is the Ministry of Trade. There's a Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 ministries. 23 ministries as announced to right now. This is breaking news coming through from the ministry. In fact, the presidency, I beg your pardon, following ministries in the civil service hereby established. 23 as announced. This is breaking news coming through right now here on Key Point.
I think basically
So that's a breaking news coming through right now from the presidency. Zabor, quickly.
yeah, so I was just trying to say that post-elections, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has been consistent. He says, look, I promised the people that I will give the system ministers, and I'm going to stick to the system ministers. So the 120-day, what do you call it, social contract with Ghanaians, none of it has been altered. And His Excellency intends to keep them, God willing. And with the graces, the small graces we have, we will, those things will be done.
Well, thank you. But that is much beyond what others had proposed as well. Some of the ministries that, there had been that proposal for it to be mentioned.
I just realize people are reacting to the fisheries issues.
Yes, the fisheries and aquaculture has been maintained.
Let me tell you, the fisheries is a big enclave. Look, you are looking at the activity, and agri in particular, yes, I can agree that you can bring in fisheries into that. But if you look at the fisheries industry, around the coast and other things, it's a very huge thing from Aflao all the way to Axim and what have you. And so I think that I'm not speaking because I'm not part of this decision, but I think that it's an area that you may also need some level of focus. And so that may be the reason why they're keeping it. So.
As long as we have 60, okay.
Yeah, 60, yeah.
And as long as if you reduce from 30 to 23, it's something that is commendable. Even though I would have done more adjustment to put even transport,
which
transport,
and then roads and highways.
All that. There's a paper that has been researched and written,
yes,
and I'm saying. I was a bit surprised at when Andy, Honorable Andy Apiakubi was saying if 60 was, if they couldn't do 60, they could go more. There's a paper that we've researched and written on, and that says that we can even run Ghana with 30 ministries, ministers.
Yes.
And so I think this is commendable. Yes. I mean, depending on how we look at things, we can all make input and say you could have done X, Y, Z. But generally, if you have reduced ministries from 30 to 23, then it's something that we should comment. And I like the bits about Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. The idea of talking about Ministry of Youth and Sports and then focusing on only sports. You go to a National Youth Authority and they don't have resources. There's nothing, virtually nothing being done to empower the youth. Has festered or has been with us for many years. And the idea is that, look, if the future belongs to the youth, then the youth must be prepared for the future. And one of the things you do to prepare the youth for the future is to ensure that they are developed and they are empowered so they can be able to be positioned to be able to take over the mantle of leadership from those who are exiting. The practice where now young people are parading on social media and not being empowered, but always resorting to insult, verbal attacks, and some people are making a living just by insulting people on social media. All these things point to a certain bleak future for Ghana. And so I am excited about a ministry that is focused on youth development. Ghana is a youthful population. Essentially, we are a youthful population. And so it is important that we deliberately put in place measures to cater for young people and their development, subsuming youth issues to sports ministry, knowing that the football alone will gobble all the resources that is allocated to that ministry, has been with us. It's a practice that has been with us for far too long, and I'm excited that you have a government who has had this foresight of ensuring that at least if the future belongs to the youth, we put in place a whole ministry that will ensure that youth are developed and empowered and prepared for the future. I commend this whole thing, reduction of ministries from 30 to 23. It's not happened. And so it's not happened before. And we want to have more positive, unprecedented achievements. Under Mr. Akufo-Addo, everything was unprecedented, but in a negative way. Everything was unprecedented.
Everything?
But yeah, virtually everything was unprecedented, but in a negative way. Akufo-Addo is reputed to have had the biggest size government in the history of actually Ghanaian politics from independence. Biggest size government. Everything unprecedented. Yeah. He couldn't do any meaningful reshuffle. He couldn't downsize. He couldn't do anything. And so if you have a president who is reducing the list, the number of ministries from 30 to 23 and saying he's going to run Ghana with 60 ministers, and somebody is saying, well, if 60 is too small, we should. And some people were also mocking at him. How is he going to run Ghana with just 60 ministers? They are ignorant. They should Google this paper. Ministerial appointment and government expenditure in Ghana's Fourth Republic. Google it. Written by myself and Alas and Amzoya Suleimana of the from the Sociology Department of the University of Ghana. Look at that paper, and it makes the point. If we do the necessary scrappings, realignments, and all that, we can even run Ghana with 30 ministers. Most of the jobs that are created, ministries that are created, are needless jobs for the boys. But you people, you used to tout yourself that before getting into power, you had your monies, you had your resources, you had your houses, you had your V8s and all that. So what do you need the job for the boys for? We are talking about governing a country in a manner that brings about development. The practice of having a big-size government is always amount to you fetching water with basket. Because every resources that comes is spent on V8s. You are V8 for ministers. You have to give them gardeners. You have to give them day watchmen, night watchmen, chauffeurs, and cooks, and you pay all manner of things, as a way of expenditure on them.
We hope that reduces this time round.
Well, it's going. I mean, if at least, if for nothing at all, reduction of ministries from 30 to 23, something that should have a certain impact. Impact that we all can see.
I see. Mr. Jackson, you see, this matter cannot just be limited to the numbers we are seeing. It's also about the cost of governance, which you have also spoken about over time. Yes. To the extent that, yes, there has been a reduction, but then again, not just in the numbers, but in the expenditure as well that goes with this, is it not?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to caution that the cost of governance is not only in the ministers, it's in the special aids, it's in all the multiple
advisors to the
advisors to the consultant. All those numbers should be looked at critically. Yes. Also, we should look at the amount of money we're spending out of the Jubilee House, and all those put together. And even the MMDAs, what are they spending? The size of government, you see, government looms large in everything. The biggest employer, the biggest subcontractor, the biggest everything. And we should start to think of trimming the size of government. One of the things we forget is this. Every time you take tax revenue from the private sector, you are presumed to be spending that money in a more efficient way than what the private sector would have done. So as we ask for more and more tax revenue, we should make sure we're not just shifting the money from an efficient way of spending in the private sector into a grossly inefficient and corrupt way of spending to the center. One issue that I want to take a little, one of the issues we have now is about tax revenue. The tax leaking from the energy sector must be looked at critically. It is as important as the exemptions we give. And we've created a beast
where people can bring in oil, set up a company, fly by night, not pay the taxes, and disappear. That's a huge leakage that we should look at. But this is a step in the right direction. Nobody can knock this. It's a step in the right direction.
Reduction of the numbers from 30 ministries to 23.
It is a step in the right direction. First of all, it signals to the whole country that the central government is prepared to take the lead in the things that we have to do to bring our budget under control, to start to cut our coat according to our size. Remember that the crisis we've described today, we're not going to get out of it without any pain. We can't spend our way out of this crisis. We're going to have to sit down and take some hard decisions, make some hard choices. We're going to have to look at some of our programs and say, we can't do this, and we can't do this, and we can't do this. We've just heard that to keep the lights on, we're going to have to spend a lot more money. Comes from one purse. Once we make the choice to make the lights on, we have to look at all the other choices we are making and decide whether those choices make sense.
It's indeed. Well, we're still talking about the numbers already. The permutations are going on. If you look at this ministry, there are 23 of them. If they are all going to have deputies, let's assume, if it's even one deputy, council, that would then double it up to 46. Then you have 16 regional ministers. That's 50. That's 62.
You see.
That's
so
more
then
than
it means some ministries
so
should not
maybe
have
some ministries will not have deputies. That is the only way the 60 ministers promise will be fulfilled. Because if we're going to do what we're used to, and all ministries
two
having,
deputies.
Yes, and some ministries have two deputies and so on.
But
Let's assume that all these ministries have one deputy. That's going to be
some of the ministries
which is not going to happen.
finance.
So if you look at this,
finance,
which ministry should not have a deputy? So that's 16 ministers. Fisheries ministry.
The new one, youth development.
Youth development should not have.
Youth development shouldn't
and
have.
Sports and creation.
Sports, the kinds of things that they do there.
Council.
No, sports is just GFA. There's a GFA that manages the
directorates. They should use the technocrats. They should use the directorate and the technocrats.
Yes.
They shouldn't create new deputy ministerial appointments.
A lot of the technocrats have to go because they aided the Kufuado in the create loot and share. So a lot of them have to give way.
We are talking about the career.
Yes, a lot of them have to be shifted around. They are usually the ones who teach them.
You can be transferring them, but they have security of tenure.
They are civil service procedures.
How do you?
So let us not throw everything over.
Of wrongdoers really address a problem.
No. So
but have we found wrongdoers?
No. As for the technocrats, you see, civil servants, they have security of tenure, and ideally, they are people. One of their features is permanence. Government come, government go. They are there. They have been there. Some have worked there for 40 years. Some have worked there for 30 years. So they are the ones who provide the laps upon which the politicians sit to govern. Apart from the being Attorney General, that the Constitution required that you should be a lawyer. You don't need any expertise in any of the ministerial roles to be able to function there. You don't have to have knowledge in finance to become a minister of finance. Actually, one of the best ministers under Kufuor's time was Kwame Ado-Kufuor. He was a judge, one of the best ministers, and was a minister for defense. But he's a medical practitioner. And so it is these civil servants and technocrats who haven't gained the knowledge, expertise, and experience will be offering advice to the ministers as to what to do and what not to do. Unfortunately, what we have done as a people, maybe from independence up to now, is that we have politicized the civil service.
That's the main point.
Thank you for watching. PENDREAM TV really appreciate your time, and once again, urges you to stay glued to the channel by subscribing to it and turning the notification bell on so that you'll be notified duly of anything that will be loaded onto the channel. Thank you. Stay blessed.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Now so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.